As I made my way down, I thought of a story I once heard. It was told to me with a sort of reverent humor, the rare kind used with only the most delightsome subjects. There was once a preeminent scholar of Greek who, in his early childhood, received an extensive classical education while huddled in a German bunker during World War II. Since then he memorized Plato's dialogues and could act as their index. This was a tremendous advantage for him in academic pursuits, and he became widely applauded. Despite this, he deliberately taught at a small university in Colorado, because he found that the elitism at Harvard offended his taste. Now, at Colorado University where he taught, a young man looking for academic work was invited to speak before the faculty as a kind of job interview. If he demonstrated intellectual and rhetorical prowess, he would almost certainly be hired. He was a recent PhD in Greek and Latin literature. He chose to speak on the motif of walking in ancient writings, and to help his audience, he took the time to make copies of all his translations of the relevant texts. These made up a respectably thick packet which was proffered to each member of the audience for their reference. All through the presentation, the old Greek scholar thoroughly annotated his copy of the packet. Then, at the end of the lecture, as the young PhD welcomed questions, the old Greek scholar enthusiastically hailed to be first. Once called upon, he stood up, the packet in his hands like a choir book, and through his thick German accent began, "I have looked through your translations, and I saw some problems." He then proceeded, line by line, showing all the errors in the man's translations, of which, he claimed, there were many. He concluded, with a grin, that your dissertation counsel must have been asleep. The young PhD began to cry and abruptly left the room. As he did so, the entire audience began applauding, and the old German scholar of Greek, his grin quite broad now, bowed repeatedly before sitting back down. The man who told me this story seemed to take a certain delight in it. In fact, he told it to me on 2 occasions, having forgotten that I had already heard it, so absorbed was he in its contents. To him, I suppose, it was a story about a young, pretentious fool having to learn that he couldn't breeze through life and that honors and awards meant nothing in the long run compared with hard-won skill. This was not the message I received. I only saw a young man being made a laughing-stock, a young man who was being told a lifetime of work and money had been wasted, a man in crisis, newly born from the university, willing to translate and synthesize and present before a seemingly willing audience, an audience of alleged teachers, who applauded as the best and brightest among their ranks slew a child for their entertainment. The entire audience applauded. They thought it was worth a good laugh. And the professor, unmatched in skill to be sure, and even brilliant, hard-working, wise, dignified, principled, that professor did not have a particle of true charity in his soul, and is as worthless to mankind as a fruitless fig tree. As I walked down the staircase, I thought I passed him by. He was there on the side of the staircase, a baton in his hand and dressed in uniform. I thought I saw his ghost at Methuselah doing what he thought was right.